We had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
And I look forward to continuing this dialogue in the months ahead. Thank you very much, everybody.
Reggie, shut him off.
Hey. Shut the door, Wally. We're starting in like 2 seconds. Good evening, everyone. Welcome.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Welcome, everyone, to Wake Up America, Wally.
Right.
We are live on the air, Wally.
That's what we're looking forward to.
Yes, sirree. Wally returns, everyone. He was sick last week, and so we made him feel better. He's here. Tonight's a special night. We got a special guest on hold. NSA Whistleblower Bill Binney is on hold, and last week I had to do the show by myself. Wally didn't feel good, and I talked about being targeted. And as a lot of you viewers know, I get targeted. I get these zaps to my body, what have you, and they were kind of getting the best of me last week, live on the air. And normally I put it on YouTube. I'm reluctant because I was getting a little upset. And so anyways, but before we bring on Bill Binney, the NSA whistleblower, I want you guys to see a 5-minute video clip so you can see exactly who Bill Binney is and what he stands for, what he's all about. This will cut out a lot of the introduction for us so we can get to the meat and the potatoes. Correct, Wally?
Right.
Nothing better than that. All right? Reg, can we roll that, please?
Under a surveillance state, you have very few liberties. Unless if they don't want you to do certain things, then they have ways and means of getting to you, like they did with us or other people. They would find things to use against you, to leverage you or influence you to do what they want you to do. You know, if you've nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. Well, that's a great quote from Joseph Goebbels, first of all, and secondly, it's totally irrelevant what you think. What you think is totally irrelevant. It means absolutely nothing. The government only considers its view of you, and if you're doing something they don't like, they will come after you, no matter what you think of it.
Bill Binney, a legendary NSA mathematician, led development of a revolutionary computer system to collect, isolate, and connect important information, like phone calls and financial transactions. Its code name was Thin Thread.
My name is Bill Binney. I worked for NSA in the military and as a civilian for a little over 36 years. And I designed a lot of the logic and architecture that they're using to spy on everybody in the world. And when I started doing this and using it against U.S. citizens, I became a whistleblower. I had other people who were with me as a part of that whistleblowing. There were 4 other people, including Diane Rourke from the House Intelligence Committee, and Tom Drake, Kirk Wiebe, and Ed Loomis, who were also NSA employees. So we were all part of that, and we tried to influence the government internally, and they attacked us for it, and tried to put us in jail, fabricated evidence. We caught them at it, so they failed.
The FBI raided the homes of all the people you've met in this story who filed that confidential complaint with the Defense Department.
They came busting in. I was in the shower at the time, and one of them came running up and pointed a gun at my eyeballs and pulled me out of the shower. So
he drew a gun on you?
Yeah, he had it pointed at my head. Why else would they keep all these things secret, do things in secret with a secret court, keeping their interpretations secret, and making secret interpretations and rules for a constitution in secret, in hiding it away from most of Congress and certainly all of the public? So if you do that, you're hiding something, and you know you're doing that. I put it down to 3 factors: power, money, and control. That is, if you have an uninformed electorate and an uninformed Congress, you can manipulate them and control them. And especially if you're pulling in a lot of data about them, you can do that and use it against them to get them, to leverage them to do what you want them to do. I made the statement about that the greatest threat to our constitutional form of government since the Civil War is what's happening now in terms of spying in the United States. And that's the domestic spying program, Stellar Wind, that they started in secret and have been running in secret. So they're violating the constitutional rights of everyone. First Amendment rights are violated because you have the right under the First Amendment to have a free association. It doesn't say you have the right to free association as long as the government knows about it. That's a direct violation of that one. The Fourth Amendment is clearly violated when they collect all the content data, or they digitally record your phone calls, and violate all of your privacy under your affairs. That's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. And then using the content of your emails against you in a court of law in secret, again under the law enforcement use of the NSA data, that's a violation of your Fifth Amendment rights not to testify against yourself. And then when they lie in courts and don't tell you that, give you the right to challenge discovery of the information they really used to arrest you, that's a violation of due process under the Sixth Amendment. So, I mean, they're just scrapping the entire constitutional form of government. This is the greatest threat to our democracy and republic and constitutional form of government since the Civil War. See, unless we stop the industrial accumulation of information on people, we're heading to a state of society where people will see the surveillance. Just the fact that people are being surveilled inhibits their ability or feeling that they have the opportunity to do new and creative and innovative things. So that kind of reduces their risk-taking, basically, which in turn means you get less and less creativity and innovation, and more stagnation of civilization. That's what happened in the Soviet Union. That's what happened in East Germany and the communist bloc. They stagnated because people were being so surveilled that they were afraid to do anything. It made people afraid to take a risk. And that's really the point of capitalism. That's why it's been so successful, because it was advocating people taking risks.
Americans aren't supposed to sit back and let things happen and let government do what it does. We're supposed to be out there challenging. We have to be participating in our democracy and republic. We cannot sit by and let these things happen and be quiet. If we do, we're going to get this totalitarian state that we're sliding toward right now.
Okay, we're back. Wally, smile, you're on camera. Bill Binney, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Listen, it's an honor to have you back on the show with us, and I apologize for the confusion with the phone system, but we got that straightened out. And your phone, the connection sounds good.
Well, that's good. It's a pleasure to be back with you guys. So
absolutely.
Thank you.
Now, what I did, Bill, I showed the viewers watching briefly of a 5-minute video of with you. I believe you did it with Alex Jones at InfoWars. You've done a lot of stuff with him, and it was a great video to explain briefly to the people who you are, what you're about, just in case there's new viewers, which there always is, and maybe they didn't see our show last year. So, and I want to thank you personally from all the targeted people, and I'm telling you right now, I know I can speak for thousands of these people. Huge thank you to you, to Kirk Wiebe, Thomas Drake, Loomis, all you guys that are willing to look into this targeting matter, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts, Bill.
Well, I just think there needs to be a little more organized approach. It isn't being that, you know, at least we can't even seem to get anybody in government to start to address it, probably because they're a part of it. But the point is we have to find some organized way, the structured way to be able to capture evidence to take this into a court of law.
And that obviously is the hard part, because they're watching every move we make, so it makes life difficult, as you can imagine.
Yeah, yeah, I can.
Now we've had Kirk on, boy, what, 3-4 times. He's been very, very helpful, and I've been watching a lot of your videos right along. You mentioned with the Patriot Act, Section 215, the cast iron target.
Well, cast iron would go much further than Section 215 of the Patriot Act.
Okay.
It would get into the upstream acquisition of data and collection of not just business records, but actual communications content, as well as metadata on the fiber lines and satellite and microwave everywhere.
Now, with that video that I've seen, you know, when you talked about the cast iron targets, you know, you mentioned that the people, not just their data, but they're actually being watched by people, correct?
Yes, and I think part of the approach that they're trying to do with a program called Treasure Map is to map your movements every minute of the day, so that they could pick up videos. You know, all the videos that they have access to, they could collect and pull those videos together and monitor where you are and what you're doing.
Now, my suspicion is that a lot of this is done from the sky. These attacks on me, what have you, via I guess satellite is the only thing I can think of. But there's been talk of drones or cell phone towers. What's your take on this, Bill, at this time?
Well, you see, my sense is if they're using microwave energy to try to irradiate people or you know, bombard them with energy, then that source of that energy has to be reasonably close. Otherwise, it kind of, if you broadcast it through the air, it spreads out. So if the further away it is, the larger the area of impact. You see what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like a shotgun spreading out as it travels over distance.
Sure.
So it's like if you have a very narrow spot beam to start with, that only goes so far through the atmosphere, and then it starts spreading.
So you think?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you think when we're like, if I'm going down the highway at 70 miles an hour and I get shocked in the private parts, you seem to think that that's a closer, you know, that's not a satellite doing that, basically?
No, I think that would be too that would be too diffused by the time it would get down through that distance. Even for a low-level satellite, you know, the ones that go orbiting at low levels, they're only overhead a certain period of time, and they only have, you know, they would still even be spreading out, because you're talking something like, you know, 20 miles up or something like that, coming over the horizon. It's got it'll be overhead for maybe 15 minutes at most, 10 to 15 minutes, something like that, as it goes around the Earth. So you know, that would still even be diffused, because it has to come down through the ionosphere and the troposphere. So that would diffuse that radiation.
Okay.
So it'd have to be probably closer, even closer than that. You know, certainly drone levels are possible.
Well, the mystery I always had was going down the highway, how they can be so precise and, you know, give me a zap at certain parts of my body when I'm a moving target. So that was always my mystery with this. I can see if I'm sitting still, it's, you know, you're a sitting target, but as you're moving down the road, to be able to attack you like that, I think is just amazing technology. What they have, and they're not using it for the good. That's for sure.
Well, again, I think that would have to be fairly close in to keep an energy beam on target, concentrated on target.
Now, in that lead-in video, you mentioned about with this constant surveillance of individuals that it inhibits ideas, risk-taking, and it creates a stagnation in the advancement or economy. And could you explain that a little more? I agree with it, but maybe the viewers would like to hear a little more.
Well, yeah. What it means is if you have someone standing over you all the time watching what you're doing, it kind of inhibits, it kind of affects the way you act and what you do. And if it's the government, you know, where they have the power to come in and do things to you, then you're kind of, what it does is like it did in the East German government or in the Soviet Union, it inhibited people from taking risks or doing things that they might think would be disapproved of by their government. And so that basically keeps them from taking risks, which is really what capitalism and advancement of civilization is all about. People taking risks to achieve things, and if you don't take the risks, you don't make the achievement.
Well, most certainly with that, and believe it or not, I feel that way a lot. There's a lot of things that I think that I might want to try in life or do, and I won't. I just won't, because I know I'm constantly surveilled and kind of picked on, I guess, or bullied. So right now, anything like that, I have to put on hold with the hopes that someday this program stops. At least, you know, it stops to a point where I can function freely and have the pursuit of happiness, basically.
Yeah, and that's kind of the effect that most people feel when they have the understanding they're being surveilled all the time. I mean, I know a lot of people have changed the way they operate and how they deal with other people, what they say across the telephones and the email and so on, and how they actually deal and operate every day. And I refuse to do that. I just think if they're going to do something, they're going to have to do it with I'm going to be out in public with everything I'm doing and everything I'm saying. So if they're going to come at me, they're going to have to do that in public, out in the open. And that's the one thing that they really don't like doing, because that shines the sunlight on what their activities are, and they don't want that to happen. That's the one thing they fear the most, sunlight.
I agree with that, and that's why we're actually our third season ends this week. Next week we start our fourth year. Believe it or not, we've been at this. So I'm amazed that it's been that long so fast. And Bill, I have a question. You're a mathematician, and as you know, this organized stalking. Part of the organized stalking is to send a lot more cars coming towards you. So on average, if there's an average traffic flow coming towards me, when you add in these stalkers, it probably adds 50%, 25 to 50% more traffic always coming at me. And this was extremely clear up in New Hampshire with the country roads. There was very few cars, and I had like 50 cars in a row coming towards me, even when it was snowing. So as a mathematician, this obviously makes the odds of an accident much, much, much higher, correct?
Yes, simply by the volume, yeah, certainly.
And this is what This is what, believe it or not, 2 weeks ago, leaving the studio, I had somebody tailgate me obnoxiously, and then they actually rear-ended me, slammed into my vehicle on the way home. And so I don't know if this is a starting of a trend or what, that they're going to now be running into me. It's just, you know, this whole program is very creepy, and I know there's a lot more to it that we can put together. And I realize, like you said, we have to organize a strong case to take to the courts or to present. And it's very difficult when the people doing it are watching, listening, and trying to control everything you're doing.
Yeah, I would say you have to start to keep a record of things that are happening that seem suspicious, and over time, if you have too many of them, you have to start figuring, well, what's the random probability of things like that happening in sequences gets pretty low. And what you're doing then is compiling the preponderance of evidence of something going on. And that's the kind of evidence you need to take in at least civil court. You can win a case for preponderance of evidence in a civil case. So that's certainly the whole idea, is that similar events happening over and over again over a period of time is just randomly not that possible.
Gotcha. Reg, camera one. Camera one. Take down the writing on that. Bill, getting back to the cast iron targets, I'm intrigued about this, and the reason is I've never heard it. Thanks, Reg. I've never heard that phrase out of all the research and all the things I've watched and read and everything. And you said it goes much deeper. Is it something that you can get into with that, or would you rather not?
Well, the idea of cast iron just simply means that everything you do is captured in any environment that they have possible access to. So if you're looking at phones or emails or credit card use or financial transactions or travel, all of that kind of, or even, with the SIM card theft, when they captured or stole nearly 2 billion, up to 2 billion records of SIM cards, and the SIM card is the subscriber identification module. What that is it identifies you as the subscriber, and then it also gives your key for your device. That means the device for your cell phone or your portable computer or any other device that you're using that's electronic. So what they can do is, with that, is they can access you anywhere you are in the network worldwide and get a report of where you are as you move around. So that can give them your GPS location every minute of the day after day. And their objective to do that is to be able to do that with up to 4 billion people simultaneously and continuously. So that that kind of information can give them that kind of leverage would be added to what you're using for credit cards and phones and emails and what you're saying and how you're acting throughout your life. So that kind of gives you the context of where and when you are at a certain place.
Okay. Does this have to go on for a lifetime, or is there shelf-life with these things, or do they just use mission creep with this whole thing and keep the targeting going on as many people as possible?
Yeah, I think, what they do is they try to do it with software as much as possible. For example, with the SIM cards, that would be a fairly straightforward thing to index GPS to a SIM card and the subscriber identification of that in that module, so that you could track your locations automatically with software. It wouldn't take people to do that. So that's why they could do it on up to 4 billion simultaneously and continuously. But when they want to compile all of the content of what you're saying and what you're typing for emails and so on, and merge that with that data, that gets into the content of information, which takes it takes more than just software to assess that. And that's when you're going on cast iron. That means you've got people who want to look at that content. So you have to get people involved in that process. So that lowers down the numbers of people that they can do this cast iron cover on, because they only have so many people to devote to that kind of operation.
Well, that's interesting that out of all this, I've never heard that term. And, you know, like I said, when I saw that video, I actually have a minute video I was going to show the people, but it's probably just as easy to ask you and have you explain it, because
yeah, that's really an old SIGINT term for a cast iron cover.
Okay.
That goes back years and years, actually decades.
Now, what is your suggestion? Let's say that, well, in my case, 8 years. I've been targeted, harassed, hit with these microwaves or whatever it is, shocking me, zapping me, causing pain at times. Is there a way out of this, or do they just keep going until they bully you into a corner?
Well, you know, I really don't know, because I've never been a part of any program that even attempted to do these kinds of things. So, and I've never really been involved in any way that would at least give me some idea what their objectives were. I just don't. I guess it's just to test the effectiveness of the techniques they're using. I don't know what else they would be trying to achieve, you know? Either that, or just trying to get somebody who's doing something they don't want done and try to dissuade them, or at least give them so many problems that they stop doing what they're doing that is not considered acceptable.
Well, you know, the odd thing is I've talked to a lot of different people, and they thank me for doing the show, which I feel honored that I can help people. I'm at the point of helping, many other targeted people, but a lot of these people claim that it just came on out of nowhere, and they truly don't know what they did. Then there's a handful that were whistleblowers or did work for large military contractors and blew the whistle, and then they got put in this program. So it's a horrible thing, and I listen to these stories over and over from many different people, and my own has been quite horrible itself. And again, I want to thank you for at least observing and listening, and as well as Kirk Wiebe and your group there of at least trying to help us with this matter and to guide us maybe the best ways to handle this. Now you mentioned getting involved in politics, correct?
Yes.
The contacting representatives, helping out maybe local people with the campaigns, this, that, and the reason I'm going to mention this is I was helping a friend, Lori, who was running for Congress, and we spent like 4 or 5 months straight, every night going from town to town. And one particular night, I was getting hit hard with these weapons, and believe it or not, she got zapped in the foot several times as she was driving, and it comforted me to know that she knew what I was going through, but she obviously didn't get elected, and but I can see what you mean as far as trying to get more involved instead of just sitting back and watching the world unfold.
Yeah, Phil, could I ask you to turn the volume up a little bit? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
How's that? Is that better?
Maybe just a little bit more.
Is that better?
It's a little clearer, yeah.
Okay. Well, the mic, I put it where I usually have it, but again, I'm not surprised if we have any technical difficulties. I wouldn't be a bit surprised, Bill. Well, it's about 7:30, so we're halfway through. Let's get into the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and all the ways it's being violated. And Wally has some information also he wants to bring up. And it just seems like every angle we look that they're violating the Constitution, right down to the most recent Supreme Court twist with different rulings and how the way they interpret, instead of interpreting the laws like they're twisting the laws, or actually making them fit to their needs or what have you. So what's your take on all that, Bill?
Well, I think they they feel that they are above the law and that they basically can write any law or interpret any law any way they want and do whatever they feel is necessary or they want done. And you know, I basically think that this is treason on their part against the founding principles of this nation. That is, the Constitution is the fundamental rights that our whole government was based on, and that's the founding document that we are supposed to be using as a guide. And they're basically subverting it, and that's basically what I call treason against the Constitution. And these were basically some of the primary articles of impeachment against Richard Nixon. And he was indicted for a lot of that too. So, what I find hard to swallow is that our Congress and our elected officials are not following through on their oath of office, which is to protect and defend the Constitution, and they're not doing that. And Richard Nixon's case is a clear case where we had a Congress at that time that would stand up and do that. But now we don't have anybody in Congress that's really, the only person coming to mind that's close to that is Rand Paul. And perhaps Cruz would be closer to that too. But the rest of them seem to want to continue perpetuating the spying programs and the intelligence complex, basically the military-industrial intelligence complex that we've created. It seems to be running more of the government than the government does.
Now, you mentioned before how there's three things: power, money, and control. And with this, the power, the money, and control, obviously that opens the door for future blackmail. Do you suppose that any of these judges, that they have something over on these guys, and that's why they're reluctant to vote certain ways?
That's certainly possible. Yeah. Can you again try to turn up the? I'm having a hard time hearing you now, Bill.
Can you hear me now?
It's just a little bit louder, not much.
Maybe Reggie has to do something.
Oh, Reg, is my mic turned up? Reggie? Yes. Is my mic turned up?
Well, I can hear you, but it's just not loud.
Well, I'll try a little louder, Bill.
Okay.
And I apologize about that. So, anyways, now the Congress, as far as with Congress, they are, they're acting peculiar too. Do you suppose that they, that they're blackmailed or the potential of blackmail is taking place?
Well, certainly that's possible, but also I think basically what they've done over the years is they've slowly co-opted senior members of Congress into the programs, and so they're now culpable in the programs, like McConnell and Boehner and the equivalents, Pelosi and so on in the Senate and House. They've all been co-opted into these programs very early on. And so that's how you build up a Congress that will protect you if you're being attacked by any force that's trying to address the crimes against the Constitution that you're committing. So
Hey, Bill, can you call right back, please?
Yeah, sure, I'll do
Yes, thank you.
that. Okay.
What the heck? What was that all about, Wally?
I have no idea.
I apologize, everyone. This stuff gets out of control, and there's no way to stop it, obviously. And apparently, Mr. Binney has important information to share, and I'm not sure what's causing all this feedback. Okay. Are you there, Bill?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you good. Can you hear us good?
Yes, I hear you very well now.
Okay. Wally, how about you?
I could hear fine.
Okay. And you can hear Wally good?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. So, unfortunately, the last 3 minutes you were talking, we missed that because of this feedback on the system. And I don't know if the viewers got to hear what you were saying or not. Is there any way you could just repeat that, Bill, or is that too much?
Well, can you repeat the question? And I'll get back into the thick of it.
Well, we're all going to have a senior moment here.
We couldn't hear nothing.
That's right.
That's crazy. Well, we were talking about Congress and being blackmailed.
Yes, right.
And I think that's where we lost you, because as soon as you got into that, then this feedback kept up for like 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, I was saying that I was thinking that was quite possible, that might be a part of the influence that's going on here. But also there's another aspect of it too, and that was the one I got into about how the technique that was used by the White House and the agencies to co-opt in senior members of Congress. And they brought them in very early in the program. Just for example, the four members, the Senate and House chair and ranking members of the House and Senate Intelligence Committees were the first 4 people in Congress briefed into this program back in these programs, all of them, back in October of 2001. And then, as they started getting more and more momentum, they had you in the OLC at DOJ justifying it with some corrupted version of law he was writing, and then also Addington in Cheney's office supporting it. So you had the legal thing, but this is all done in secret, and even a lot of the memos they've written back and forth to justify the program hasn't been made public yet. So a lot of this stuff was these people in the senior positions in government, in the House and Senate, and also in the court, in the FISA court at a minimum. They went after the senior judge there and co-opted her into that early on in 2002. And then later on it expanded to the Gang of Eight, which meant to the senior ranking Republican and Democrat in the House and Senate. That was expanded to the Gang of Eight. That was added to the 4 from the Intelligence Committee. So you can see how they slowly co-opted senior people in Congress and in the court system. And then now that they're all a part of it, they have to now all protect each other, so they all have to participate in the cover-up. That includes the Attorney General of the United States, because after all, Ashcroft, when he was Attorney General, they were afraid he was going to be indicted, the first Attorney General ever indicted, sitting Attorney General indicted for these programs. But they got by that without that happening, and then slowly they evolved it and expanded it and kept doing more and more with it. And these people who were already co-opted in, that's why Nancy Pelosi said when she was Speaker of the House that impeaching George Bush was off the table, because she was already co-opted into the program. So George could have said to her, if she was going to allow impeachment proceedings to proceed in the House, then George would have to say to her, well, you're a part of this too. You agreed to it, so now you have to impeach yourself. So that's how you co-opt people in, so that they defend you and help you cover up what you're doing.
Bill, this is Wally talking over here. I'm thinking about a case we had with General Petraeus and what happened to him. I mean, what he did was wrong, having an affair with another person, but I think it was used against him to keep his mouth shut. And he seemed to be out of the picture right now. Would you go along with that?
Yeah, I think that's also what they did with General Allen when he was in charge in Afghanistan.
Okay.
Because this was before the 2012 election, and the position the administration was taking was that we've beaten back Al Qaeda, they're on the run, they're going down now, so we're winning. And these guys were saying, no, we're not, they're coming back. And so I think they went into their database in NSA and looked up their emails and so on to try to find something to embarrass them or in some way get rid of them. I think they also did the same thing with Elliot Spitzer in New York when he was going after the bankers after the 2008 financial crisis.
Yeah.
He was going after them criminally because they were defrauding people with the fraudulent solicitations for packaged mortgage deals, And the justification for going after him, probable cause, was we got to stop him because he's going. So that's what I thought the probable cause was against him. But I don't believe that this is in any way restricted. I mean, they use this anyway too. I think they use this as information to feed to the IRS to go after people in the Tea Party or other organizations too. I mean, Nixon did this when he was that was part of his impeachment articles. So, I mean, all of this stuff is going on on a much larger scale now, and these are all right out of the articles of impeachment of Richard Nixon, and we haven't done a thing. We're sitting here tolerating this. This is not the America I used to know.
What's happened under this administration is so much greater than what happened under the Nixon administration, and you never read anything about it in the newspaper. The only organization I know that is really doing something about President Obama and his government is Judicial Watch. They're coming up with taking so many cases to court to force them to give information out, and they still can't get it because they're holding back information that we need to know what's going on out there. And it's affecting our Congress, and who are trying to investigate this because they're not getting the evidence. And just recently, they found more information that got lost. So this administration we have right now, in my mind, is one of the worst administrations we ever had about taking over government agencies. I'm talking about the FBI, the CIA, the Justice Department. They control them 100%.
Yeah, the IRS.
Yeah,
all of them.
And that's
that was those were parts of the articles of impeachment of Richard Nixon too, as well as contempt of Congress by not providing quested under subpoena. That was also part of it. So these are all. This is right out of the Nixon playbook. I mean, they're all. I mean, because after all, Cheney and Rumsfeld grew up under Nixon. I mean, he was the one that they worked for from the very beginning. So I mean, the playbook has been there all along, and I think they just started to execute it. That's all.
Well, Hillary Clinton got involved with trying to impeach President Nixon. And she's telling lies and everything else that the Democratic Party had to fire her. They had to fire her from her congressional job. And people don't even know about that because the press doesn't report things like that.
Yeah, well, that's we don't have a press that's really trying to do the public's business. I mean, they're not really interested in the public anymore. They seem to have their own agenda that's not necessarily connected with what a free press is supposed to do for a democracy, which is monitor what the government's doing and challenge them at every turn and make sure they're being honest with the public. They're not doing that. I mean, they're helping with this cover-up by not allowing or not actually having open conversations about these issues. They're not doing that. They're having figureheads come in from government to spew the rhetoric coming out of the administration, which is, excuse me, it's basically like, the recipe was pretty simple. If you're going to tell a lie, tell it often until it's believed. I mean, that's fundamentally what's going on here.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, Bill, we got maybe 8 minutes left or so, eight or 9 minutes. What do you see in the future? What should we be watching out for? What should be the viewers focus on? Where should we be looking and watching, and to be concerned about?
Well, you can't see the real fundamental problem that's going on is what they're doing with content of communications, and I sent you guys a list of all the things that are showing that they're collecting content of data of U.S. citizens, both in telephones and in email.
So
did you get that list?
When did you send that?
Just a couple days ago.
I don't think I had any.
I got something, but I didn't understand it. It didn't come out clear on the computer. I couldn't understand it at all. Well,
yeah.
And that came from you to me.
Oh, okay. But I'll send it again, and you see if you can look at it and read it. You'll see this is evidence going back to Thomas Tam, who was a Department of Justice lawyer who was writing a request for warrants for the FISA court, and in that he started seeing the evidence of wiretaps and reading emails and things like that of domestic communications. And that's why he became a source of the New York Times article that came out in 2005 talking about the warrantless wiretapping program. He was the source, or one of the sources at least. Then, of course, you had from 2002 to 2011, I believe it was, Adrian Kinney and David Murphy Falk, who were transcribers down at Fort Gordon, Georgia, working for NSA down there, doing transcriptions of U.S. people talking with other U.S. people with no warrants whatsoever, and transcribing them in full. And this is where they're taking the audio and reducing it to text so that it can store it, you know. And then there was the Director Mueller of the FBI testifying to the Senate Judiciary Committee in 2011, where he said he got together with the DOD and created a database where with one query he can go back in and find and get all past emails and all future ones on a person. Well, I mean, you know, that's telling you he's going into the NSA database. If you look at some of the material released by Snowden, you can see how they're going into the different databases at NSA. They're all connections are all right there. But when FBI and CIA are doing it, there is no oversight by anybody. Nobody's monitoring that at all. Mm-hmm. And that's where they're violating all the constitutional rights in the courts of law. And they're perjuring themselves in the court by saying, you know, this is the data we used to show probable cause to arrest a person, when it wasn't. It was from the NSA data. But they can't use the NSA data because it's not admissible. Wasn't collected under a warrant. So you know, so they do what's called a parallel construction and then perjure themselves over that. Even when we brought that up with the President's Civil Liberties Oversight Board, when we talked to them early last year, they said that the administration had assured them that from now on, anybody who's in a court of law where NSA data is being used against them, that the defendant would be told so they could have their due process right to challenge discovery. But that's never happened that I know of so far. That's never come up. So I don't think they've ever adopted any of these. They're just scrapping everything. So, you know, I think the one thing you have to do, I mean, we have to get active here, really. It's not, you can't just sit back and watch for things. You got to get out there and get active. When these people come around for town meetings, representatives and senators, and they start talking to people, get in their face and say, what are you doing to stop this violation of the Constitution? I don't want them having my data because I'm not doing anything. If they think I am, they better have probable cause to show it, you know, and face them in town meetings and start putting them on the spot, all of them. We have to actively do that. And then if they don't come around with the right, they're saying they're going to stop this, stand up and actually execute their oath of office, which is to protect and defend the Constitution, then you should say, I'm going to work against you to fire you. And I'm going to make sure I won't give you any money. I'm going to contribute to the other guy or somebody who's going to say they'll do this. Otherwise, I'm going to work to fire you. And that's the way you can threaten people that way. And I mean that's what they're afraid of, losing their comfy jobs down there in Washington D.C.
Well, you know, the sad thing, some of these areas, for instance, where we are in Connecticut, it's all liberal, Democrat. And they know it, and they're not going to most likely get voted out. So to me, I don't think they necessarily sweat it out as much as they would if it was a more even balanced population as far as political views. So, but go ahead, Wally.
Connecticut is like a dictatorship. The government is like a dictatorship in Connecticut, and it's controlled by the left-wing Democrats.
But
you know, let me say this though. I found that this is not a political issue, left or right, Democrat, Republican. It's a universal issue. It's an American issue. And I've gotten you know, surprising support from people like Bill Maher, or you know, Glenn Beck, or people from the right, from the left, from the religious groups, from everybody. And even, for example, if you looked at down in Congress, when most of Congress is not informed about this, by the way. Only the selected few at the top, they were the ones who were informed. But now, I mean, just last year, it was that Representatives Amos and Conyers, a Democrat and Republican, got together with a coalition of uninformed congressional people to try to get a bill in the floor to unfund NSA's activities. So it shows you there's a reaction there that crosses all the boundaries. I don't think it's not a political issue. This is really an American issue. You know, it's what we are all about as a country, not as a politics. You know.
I agree with that, because I'm seeing from all sides, Republicans, Democrats. You know, there's a lot of similar complaints and frustrations, and it is a more of a global thing, I think, working towards a one world government, technically.
Well, they certainly are doing that with the intelligence community, with the Five Eyes group, and now getting into other countries like Germany and so on. The Germans, by the way, are just now finding out. The Bundestag is just now finding out some of the things that the BND, the equivalent NSA equivalent over there, has been doing about their citizens too. They didn't know about it either. So it's the same techniques that were used here have been exported to other countries, and they're being used there. And the BND is what is sharing raw data, collection data, even on their citizens with NSA. So you can see that going all ways now, with all these countries now cooperating. And it was basically NSA and CIA who started all this stuff.
Bill, we have 1 minute left, and we finally getting warmed up with you, and now the show's over, minus the technical difficulties. But I want to thank you for coming on, joining us again. Maybe we can have you back with Kirk Wiebe, both of you guys, in a conference call. Would that work?
Yeah, that's certainly possible.
Okay,
yeah, well, get some dates together, and we'll see if we can work something out.
Well, I gotta get to know you better also, because Kirk's already invited me for a cookout. So I want to.
Looking for a free meal.
He's good at that, by the way. He does good cookouts.
I've heard. He told me the story. So, anyways, Kirk, Bill, you hold on. All the viewers, everybody. God bless America. God bless all the viewers.
And wake up
America.